My name is Helen Leale-Green. I run a small charity called Our Moon Education, and we work with very bright but very disadvantaged young people from Zambia. So my talk is about how I set up Our Moon and the work that we do. Nurturing talent was something that I've always enjoyed doing, and I enjoyed doing on projects at PwC. I've developed a lot of skills in project management, in financial management, that I was able to use in starting up the charity and for its ongoing management. The young people that I worked with there have been the most inspiring people that I've ever worked with. So I think the biggest life lesson that I gain from doing this work is taking a cue from my students and giving things a go. You don't have to start something that's going to be huge, but you can impact others' lives. Look for your passion, get involved. You can do all sorts of things, but start now.
I feel very privileged and excited to be here this evening to share my story about how I set up Our Moon Education. Just before I do that, I just wanted to give you a little bit of context. We believe strongly that Africa's next change makers will be those young people who've lived through and experienced the challenges in their countries and who managed to navigate broken systems. But they also need access to higher education opportunities. So Our Moon was set up to work with very bright young people from financially disadvantaged families and help them become those change makers in their communities, country, and continent. This is a far cry from the work that I did at PwC as a management consultant for 15 years in the London office in financial services. So let me open up a window on my life now. So the turning point came for me on the 24th of February 2014. I was volunteering at a charity in the UK that worked with very bright young people and from developing countries around the world and brought them to the UK to study for the International Baccalaureate. Justin, one of our students, came into the office late. I was the only one there, so it was just by chance. He was troubled and needed to chat. He talked and talked. He told me about being proudly and humbly African, about his chaotic, warm, loving family, about Zambia's richness and its abject poverty, and how too few people dare to dream. Several hours later, he turned the tables on me and declared that we'd make a great team with my skills and knowledge and his lived experience of the social issues in his country, Zambia. A year later, I was on a plane to Zambia to meet Justin and to research and plan a project that we could work on together to help young people in his country. His family welcomed me with open arms. They'd prepared a traditional Zambian meal of nshima, veggies, and crispy caterpillars, not everybody's taste. And they welcomed me into their humble 3-roomed house, which was going to also be my home for 2 weeks. It was getting late into the evening, and I was looking around me. There seemed to be more and more people pouring into the house, some too drunk to walk. And I thought, where on earth am I going to be sleeping tonight? So just imagine my astonishment when I discovered I would be sharing a bed with Justin's grandmother. This is her with glasses on, and Justin's mother the other side. But the funny thing is, after just 4 days, we were sitting up in bed like an old married couple, putting the world to rights. Estina would tell me about how her grown-up sons would never leave home and were always going to be a burden on her. But I digress. You're probably thinking, how did I get from PwC to working with a student like Justin? So when I left PwC, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, but I knew it needed to be different and was likely to involve education because it was something I was really passionate about. So for a while, I freelanced as a consultant, but I also took the opportunity to do a short course and to volunteer with a number of different organisations. I eventually stumbled across the charity that Justin came from. Those students were such an inspiration to me. Their motivation and sacrifices they'd made just to stay in education were incredible. I worked with them relentlessly. I had to coax out of them their extraordinary stories so that they could produce very strong personal statements for university applications. And I also had to research universities that would take a student on a full scholarship or full aid and had strong international reputations. Those students went on to some incredible universities. At the same time as I was doing that, I realised that I was lacking a lot of skills, especially in education and international development. So I started a part-time master's at UCL. And it's around that time that I first visited Zambia and Our Moon was born. So what is Our Moon? This is a charity that Justin and I eventually set up in 2016. We offer very carefully selected students a chance to take an 18-month programme that develops our students holistically into intellectually curious and socially conscious young people who desire to make the changes in their communities. Our students come from abject poverty. Just to give you an example, last year's students, the average income in their families was £350 a year, often supporting large families. Our students go on to amazing universities, including Stanford, Columbia, and Edinburgh. And one of our students has just been awarded the Rhodes Scholarship to study for a PhD at Oxford University. These are young people who wouldn't get the chance to go to university otherwise. Since our inception, we've unlocked scholarships worth £5 million against programme costs of only £350,000. That's a return of investment of almost 15 times. I'd like to tell you about Andrew, one of our really inspiring young students. He's there with the flowery shorts on standing. Andrew was born in a mud hut in rural Zambia and led a very carefree and idyllic life until his mother passed away when he was 12. He was taken to the capital city and saw cars and TV for the first time, and his uncle paid for him to go to school. But sadly, after a year, his uncle also passed away, and at that stage, he was snatched by another relative and made a house slave. But Andrew had that glimmer of hope. He'd seen what education could do for him in that year that he'd been to school. And eventually, he managed to escape with the help of another relative and return to school. He became that boy that got up at 4 a.m. every morning to take the 2-hour walk to school and eventually rose to the top without outstanding grades. But his future was still uncertain, and that's when we came into his life. So he's introduced to us, and after a careful selection process, along with other young people, he was admitted to our programme. Andrew was an exceptional student. I plied him with books and he read voraciously, I gave him access to the internet, and he used Google for the time, could do all this amazing research that he didn't know existed. He wrote a 4,000-word essay on the impact of Chinese investment on Zambia's development, and hopes eventually to work in economic public policy. Andrew is, towards the end of Andrew's stay with us, I organised an internship for him at PwC in Lusaka. The boy who'd been sweeping floors was now dressed in a suit, working on client-related work with recent graduates and holding his own. Andrew is now studying economics at Cornell University. After only a year, he was awarded a $10,000 prize to build a computer room and library in a rural primary school in Zambia. His experience with our moon of having access to the internet, even though it was quite late, made him realise that one of the keys to Zambia's development is making sure that younger children have access to computers and the rich resources that are available. Andrew says, "I want to join with our moon's other stars, and together we will light up the continent." And that's my dream too. It's hard work doing what I do, but it's what keeps me motivated when I find myself yet again sitting at my desk and it's way past midnight. The relentless but necessary fundraising, and helping our students cope with disappointment when they're turned down by their university choices. And it's hard for our students as well. Imposter syndrome is rife. And despite our best efforts to connect them with families and students studying at the universities they go to, they still have crises of confidence. And the culture shock is huge. But I keep thinking, what if I hadn't been there that evening when Justin walked into the office? And this is Justin. My life would be so different now, and so would his, and so would all the lives of our students and those who they impact. So I want to leave you with this thought. There are lots of charities out there that need your help, of various sizes and diverse purposes. The ways that you can best help is to open up your contacts for them, help them fundraise, use your energy to light up lives, whether that's educating the next generation of young people or saving the planet. And together, we can shape a world we all dream to live in. Thank you.